Gen V Season 1 already gave us one of the darkest twists in the boys' universe. We all thought we were watching a spin-off about young supes, a kind of messed-up X-Men Academy where the brightest would rise and the rest would fade into the background. But then the rug was pulled out. Godolkin University wasn't about legacy or training or building the future of superheroes. It was about the woods, that underground nightmare where Vought experimented on kids like they were rats in cages. The revelation worked because it flipped the entire premise on its head. The bright colors, the smiling recruitment brochures, the frat parties, it was all a front for needles, scalpels, and cages. Season 1 ended with the horrifying truth that Godolkin wasn't an academy, it was a lab. But Season 2 doesn't stop there. It takes the exact twist that shocked everyone in Season 1 and escalates it. It doesn't just show us the hidden corruption of Vought. It shows us what happens when that corruption spirals out of control, when the monsters they created don't stay in cages, and when the experiments they've spent years perfecting finally outgrow the leash. And the character at the center of this escalation is Marie Moreau. Marie's powers were already unsettling. From the very beginning, she was different from her classmates. While Jordan had versatility, while Golden Boy had flash and spectacle, and while Kate had influence, Marie had something rawer, messier, and infinitely more disturbing. She could control blood. Her powers literally came from trauma, cutting herself, using her pain as a weapon. It was shocking, it was grotesque, and it immediately set her apart as someone Vought couldn't spin into a marketable poster child. That in itself was powerful storytelling. But Season 2 pushes her beyond trauma, beyond pain, and into something godlike. Because now Marie doesn't just weaponize blood, she can manipulate biology itself. She can heal. She can undo death. She brings her sister back. And that one act changes everything. When you think about the balance of power in the boys' universe, everything has been built on fear. Homelander terrifies the world not just because he's strong, but because he embodies inevitability. No one can stop him. He's untouchable. His enemies can be vaporized in a blink, and even those who hate him bow because he is invincible. The boys fight him with scraps, blackmail, and temporary weapons, but even they know their war is impossible. The whole universe runs on the understanding that Homelander cannot die. But what happens when someone like Marie appears? Someone who doesn't need to overpower him physically, someone who can control the very blood in his veins, stop his heart with a thought, and collapse his invincible body from the inside out? Worse still, what happens if she can undo death itself? If she can resurrect the fallen? If she can erase the one fear that holds this entire universe together? Suddenly, Homelander's invincibility doesn't look like the ultimate card anymore. Suddenly, he isn't the final boss, he's just another organism. And organisms can be rewritten. That's what makes Season 2's twist darker. Season 1 showed us the institution was corrupt. Season 2 shows us the institution has created something it cannot contain. The woods was horrifying because it was secret. Season 2 is horrifying because the secret is out, and the results are impossible to hide. But this isn't just about Marie. Her evolution is the clearest example, but the entire cast reflects this escalation. Jordan's power to shift between male and female forms seemed symbolic in Season 1, a representation of identity. In Season 2, it becomes survival. That adaptability makes them unpredictable, almost impossible to categorize, and a living rejection of Vought's neat boxes. Emma's shrinking was once a quirky, even comical power, treated as a running gag, but now her ability feels volatile, her control fragile, and her body unstable in ways that suggest her story might take a much darker turn. Kate's psychic manipulation already destroyed the group in Season 1, but in Season 2, it feels corrosive and dangerous not just to her enemies, but to everyone she touches. Each of these evolutions reinforces the theme. The students aren't controllable anymore. They aren't future superheroes waiting for branding deals. They're destabilizing forces, weapons, and gods in their own right. And that's where Vought's nightmare begins. Because secrecy was easy. Hide the woods. Control the narrative. Sweep broken students under the rug. That was Season 1. But in Season 2, the horror is visible. How do you spin it when a student resurrects the dead? How do you control it when Jordan refuses to be boxed in? How do you manipulate the public when Kate's psychic control leaks into the open? The truth is, Vought can't. The leash has snapped. Now, picture how this bleeds into the boys itself. Butcher's obsession has always been Homelander. Every season of The Boys is built on that ticking clock. Butcher trying, failing, and finding some new desperate way to level the field. Temp V gave him a glimpse of power, but it poisoned him and burned him from the inside. He's out of time, out of options, and still outmatched. But what happens when he hears about Marie Moreau? He won't see her as a scared student trying to hold on to her humanity. He'll see her as the one weapon capable of ending Homelander. Not through spectacle, not through brute force, but through biology, through inevitability. And that's where the moral clash of this universe sharpens, because Butcher doesn't care what Marie wants. He doesn't care if she's terrified of her own abilities, if she just wants to live without being turned into a weapon. He will try to weaponize her anyway. He will push her, manipulate her, and convince her that her power has only one purpose, to kill Homelander. But Marie isn't Butcher. She doesn't want to be defined by violence. She doesn't want to lose the fragile piece of humanity she's clinging to. And that conflict, between Butcher's desperation and Marie's morality, is where this story becomes more than just a spin-off. It becomes the engine of the franchise's endgame. Because the truth is, resurrection is never clean. Every story that introduces the power to undo death also introduces corruption. Think Frankenstein. Think Pet Sematary. Think of every myth where mortals reach into the afterlife and drag something back. The result is never whole. It's never pure. It's always broken. What if Marie's resurrections come with a price? What if the sister she brings back isn't fully herself? What if she's unstable, monstrous, or something else? What if Vought forces Marie to bring back assets they lost? Soldier Boy, Stormfront, even a fallen Homelander. Or worse, what if Homelander sees Marie as his insurance policy, the one way he can cheat death forever? Suddenly, resurrection isn't a gift. It's a curse. It's a bargaining chip in the darkest game imaginable, and this is why Season 2's escalation feels apocalyptic. Season 1 shocked us with the revelation that Godolkin was never a school. That was horrifying enough. But Season 2 shows us that the experiments are no longer confined to underground labs. They're walking, breathing, destabilizing forces in the open. Marie Moreau has gone from orphan to survivor to something bordering on divine. Jordan, Emma, and Kate, they're all shifting, all becoming harder to control. And Vought, for the first time, doesn't have an answer. They can't hide it, they can't spin it, the machine is breaking down. And in the middle of this chaos, everything points toward one inevitable clash. Marie versus Homelander. The corrupt god versus the corrupted miracle. Homelander has ruled through spectacle and the fear of destruction. Marie terrifies in a quieter, more insidious way, through biology, through the ability to undo the natural order itself. Their confrontation won't just be about strength. It will be about narrative. Who defines the future of this universe? The god of fear or the god of blood? That's why Gen V Season 2 feels like it took the twist we all expected and made it worse. Because Season 1 was about the lie. Season 2 is about the consequences. And the consequence is far scarier. The pawns Vought treated like toys are no longer pawns. They've become players. And that means the entire balance of the boys' universe is crumbling. The secret has turned into inevitability. Death has turned into a question mark. And the endgame is no longer about whether Homelander can be stopped. It's about what kind of world rises after gods start walking free. Gen V was supposed to be the spin-off that expanded the boys' sandbox. But what it's become is the crucible where the final war is being forged. Marie Moreau is no longer just another soup. She's the escalation, she's the consequence. And she might be the end of everything.